This is It's Not in the Syllabus podcast, the how-tos of a student beyond classroom walls. This is the podcast where you, yes you, get to learn what they don't teach you at school and ace that test called life, or at least get a passing grade and get by. It's Not in the Syllabus is a podcast brought to you by the Adventist International Institute of Advanced Studies, together with the Student Association, where we feature stories by the students and for the students. Join us as we discover life lessons you'll surely need. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 11th episode of It's Not in the Syllabus podcast. And for today, we'll be talking about something that I hope everyone will resonate, especially as we have just started a new year. And this is along with our theme into balancing. And, New Year is all about resolutions. And so today, we will be talking about goal or priority setting. And we have a very special guest with us. That's no other than Pastor Robert Benjamin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, we're really glad to have you here. Yeah, and I hope you will allow me to introduce you a little bit to our audience.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Pastor Robert Benjamin is a newly elected Vice President for Student Services here at AIIAS. He was actually born in Malaysia and has lived there for 28 years and married his beautiful wife, and they have a daughter. And in terms of his background, he actually has an MBA, an MDiv, and is currently a DMin candidate. So he has lived in the US for 28 years and has different positions, director positions from finance, operations, HR, and also student services. So we're really privileged and happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah. In case there's anything else you want to share our audience about yourself, feel free.
I'm just excited to be at AIIAS. It's just a wonderful place. We are truly blessed, my wife and I, to be here. And the people are warm and friendly, just as the weather is. And so we are really just delighted to be here. We're excited to be talking a little bit this morning.
That's great. So, Pastor, let me ask you quite a personal question. I mean, as we entered a new year, we are already on a third week, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And did you actually have any resolutions for the year?
Well, it comes to resolutions. It's just interesting how we all make resolutions every year. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have made resolutions that seem to really not work out for me. And by saying that, I hope I don't discourage you from making resolutions. It's a good to make. But it seems like for me as a Christian, if I don't tend to have God be included as part of my resolutions, it always seems like I fall flat on my face and hurt myself. And this past year, I made a different resolution wherein I said, no more, clean slate for you, God, and this is my life. You do whatever you want with it. Take me wherever you want. I guess the wherever you want is what actually brought me here. So just stepping away from our own priorities and our plans and saying, God, you take over along with my plans and work with me. I think that works.
Wow. I mean, that's a very interesting way to look at it. And even if most of us probably, grew up in the church and we know, God should be the top of our priority, but then the tendency is really, okay, I need to have a plan, right? A roadmap. Especially, I guess, in business, we were taught to, and we are not saying that planning is not good. I do think it is good, and even the Bible also suggests it. But how do you think, in terms of setting priorities, what is the priority, and how does one person know their priority?
Okay, so good question. Thank you. I'll do my best to attempt to answer that. So priorities and goals are slightly different. Priorities are the now things that you plan for that will take you towards the goal. So, and I tell you a little story about my own background in that for me as a child growing up, and I think it's the same with many of us where our parents plan. They want you to be this, they want you to be that, and they want you to grow up and have this career and that career. So that was the same thing for us.
So many Asians can resonate with
Yeah,
that.
right. So with four of us, children, my father, my parents had me wanting to become an accountant. My second brother to be an auto mechanic. I'm not sure where that came from. And a third brother to be a doctor, a pilot, and the fourth one, sister, to be a doctor. But breaking news, none of us boys turned out the way our parents had, envisioned our lives to be. But it's not a bad thing, because our parents really have good plans for us. They are looking out for us. But sometimes, and all of the time, I would say, that we are all created so differently, and so God has a different purpose for us. So we all turn out different in our careers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of our audience also can relate to that. And in your journey through this, you have so much experience. And in terms of goal setting, so you have you know what your parents wanted, but then you also paved your own path into career. In terms of career, how did the role of God in your spiritual life play in that journey?
Thank you. In the beginning, it was a little different in that when you're young, I think your priorities and goals change along the way. And you get to a point where you will actually be on the path, on the course where where God has designed for you to go or to take. In the beginning, I was like looking all around. I'm like, oh, my friend's going to be this. So peer pressure is strong. And so I want to make their priorities and their goals mine, which is really wrong, in my opinion. Or you get so distracted. There are too many things that are in the way. You may have 100 goals. I may be exaggerating. But I would say if you have 100 goals or then I would say just maybe list 20 of those. Or pick 20 out of the 100 and then zone in on maybe 5 of the 20. So I think that's what happened. So for me, yes, my parents had a big influence on my life as to where they wanted me to go. I started out that way. I completed a business degree, but worked as an accountant, and I felt like that was not for me. So therefore, I think you just need to be on your knees praying. That's me again as a Christian speaking. And that didn't come in the beginning when I was a young Christian. I was looking more at myself and my abilities, and also looking at others, what they're doing, and just trying to see if I can fit and do what others would want me to become. But that changed along the way.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about in the beginning of the show that you had many resolutions maybe for the previous New Year's, just like everyone else, and then find out it's not really working out, and so this year you've actually decided to just let God be in control. And I think you pointed out that the reality that there are really struggles into maintaining what we attempt to achieve. And why do you think so? Like, what do you think are the usual causes for that?
I think there'll be there's a lot of distractions. I feel like there are distractions. We are very visual beings. So again, as I said, we look at people and, you have your own goals, but then, and then you look at the other person and like, oh, that person going that direction, so those things can become very distractive. So I may have set my own resolutions, and then I look at my family or my friends around me. Oh, they're taking a different path. So that can, the distractions are the ones I'm talking about. Can be it can be a problem. Lack of commitment. I mean, I make resolutions. And then I'm good the first, month or so. And then it was like, oh, I'm too lazy to get up to do this or that. If I want to lose weight, I can just, imagine it'll happen on its own. So I got to keep the commitment. Also, not measuring our progress. So if you set your goals, you have to measure and see if your commitment's working along the way. So that will just actually keep you on the path of making that reaching a goal, but also making vague goals. Sometimes we make really unreachable. I wanted to be a millionaire when I was 30. Where am I today? I'm blessed, beyond blessed, but not in the way that my bank account shows, but in terms of friendship, relationship, and relationship with God. That's where my $1,000,000 lie.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's a really great path to continuity, at least. Tips, having the commitment, accountability, perhaps as well, and measuring progress. Yeah, I honestly struggle a lot with that. So that's a great way just to take note of the goals that we have. And I think for the previous episodes, we've actually been talking about, setting goals, what our priorities are. But when it comes to, and you've mentioned that priorities are the now that has to be done. But how many do you think priorities can one person really focus on at a moment in time?
I think it's different for every person.
Okay.
It's just everyone's capability is different. I can multitask, and sometimes multitasking is not good for everybody. You
Yes,
just
we've
lose your
had a
focus.
whole
Yes.
episode about that.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know, just pick, even if you pick one and do it right, I think it's better than picking 10 and not doing any of them. So I don't know what the magic number is. I think each person has to decide what it is. But I would say at the most, don't go beyond 5. Again, personally speaking. There are corporations too, they set their goals, they fail. And then I will have a little statistics here I can share with you about Bain and Company, a statistics company. They say 76% of organizations fail because they don't have proper goals. 2/3 of senior managers can't even tell what the priorities are of the company. So those things are important. I think we need to be very clear. And there it goes on. But when it trickles down to, if you're an organization, it trickles down to the person that's actually, the one who's, there are different rankings. And also, if you get down to the bottom, you find that about 16% of them actually know what the company or organization goals are. It's very, very disheartening. But that's why priorities and goal setting is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah. And I think that is a shocking statistics, to be honest, but it is reality. And I think one of the most helpful things also that we can do, which you've also mentioned, is breaking down these goals and priorities into smaller bite-sized steps. Yeah, because I mean, it's a struggle for me. I've read so many books about it, listened to so many podcasts about it. But yeah, like achieving, wanting to be a millionaire all of a sudden, we're never gonna achieve that if we don't actually do anything each day. And I think time blocking is also something very useful. Do you actually use that?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it has-
any books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it has been helping you
Yes.
thus far.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So in terms of maybe our listeners who would like to know or delve into the more practical aspects of it, do you have any, we know that we can just Google this really and, go on YouTube. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, from your experience as well, there are unconventional ways on how we can actually set our goals and identify priorities in our life. So if you have any tips, you can share that with us.
Yeah. Again, the unconventional goals will be different for every person also. To me, it's maybe conventional, unconventional, but so some may see it as conventional and others may see it unconventional. For me, it's to decide, that we have to make decisions on what priorities we have in life. That has to be the first step. If you don't decide to, to prioritize some things, then, it's just not going to work. You have to take the first step of that. And then organizing your time, really. And so deciding what you want to do and then organizing your time together, then I think you can set goals which you would achieve. So that's some of the ways that I've dealt with my own life. And does it pan out all the time? I would say most of the time, because you have direction, you have a guide, a pattern to follow. and that usually helps.
Yeah. And I think what's beautiful in that is that it starts within us. I mean, it's
Yes.
more of like an interest. We're
Yes.
intrinsically motivated instead of, society or
Yeah.
parents telling us that this is what you have to do. So I guess in terms of drive and motivation, that helps us even more. Yeah. But how about for some people who say, people usually plan does not happen. So what if I just do it? What do you think of that?
Personally, I think that's really not the way to go, because that's what happened with my millionaire plan. I say I want to be a millionaire, but then I don't do much about it. I don't have specific goals to attain that goal. Though along the way, that's really not become my priority. But but I would say you cannot just make it happen. So, for example, I want to lose weight, but I also like to watch TV, right? So I cannot be losing weight if I don't dedicate the time to go out and exercise. Rather, if another priority is to watch TV, if I'm watching TV but I want to lose weight, it's not going to work, right? So you got to really say, okay, no to TV. I need this 45 minutes to get out and to exercise. So that's when I'm going to achieve my goals. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's important to have that balance as well of planning and implementing, because
Yes.
we do have a group of people who are, okay, I have my plan, I have my checklist, my to-do list. I mean, but then the action itself is where there is difficulty. So yeah, deciding and doing that first step is very important.
If I may add just
Yes,
one more
please.
thing to that. So when you set your goals and you know that it's going to really be good for you, you also want to be aware that there will be peers that may know and recognize that it may discourage you, from doing it, because they feel like, just out of jealousy, whatever it is, they may want to stop you from, being successful. And so they may come alongside and say, oh, this is not going to work. We've tried and it never worked. I would say just stay on course. If you have decided that's the goal that you're heading towards, make sure you stay. Don't let any of the peer pressure, succumb you to, failures. Just continue that path, because there are going to be people who would not like where you're going because they can't get there. They don't want others to get there either. So be aware of that.
That's very true. The crab mentality.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you pointed that out, because it is a reality. And we may think that it will just come from friends, but even like loved ones, maybe
Yes.
even your partner, your family, right?
Yes.
So going against that is a difficult task. I mean, did you have any personal experience in that line?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are several. One that perhaps come to mind is, my parents wanted. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but it's important for listeners to hear this. It's because, as I said earlier, they wanted me to be such and such because they care about you. But I felt very boxed in, because that is not what I want. But I don't want to disrespect my parents either. So I took the path. But at the end of that journey, I felt like, oh, it's not what I wanted. And then so I embarked on another journey, which I feel like it's where I needed to be in the first place. So let's be mindful of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely useful also to have different godly counsel from
Yes.
different people. But knowing
Yes.
what we want. And to the point that you mentioned earlier in terms of the how-tos, which is identifying really what one wants and what one wants to prioritize in life. I think as Christians, I mean, the Bible already clearly has said it. We don't even need to think about it. We
Yes.
just need to pray about it, which
Yes.
is seeking Him first and His
Yes.
kingdom.
Yes.
And everything else will fall into
Yes.
place. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about goal setting. So, if there's anything else you want to let our audience know, I usually ask our guests just one thing. But in case you have a couple of things,
Yes.
feel free. But
Yeah, I just want to say to the audience, our direction, our guidance, our goals are actually more like a compass. And so if you don't have a compass, you're not going to really get where you need to go. And so we know that we have God as our compass. He knows where He's taking us. We got to just trust Him that He's going to take you because He knows what's good for you, good for me. But oftentimes we tend to doubt that, and we want to go our own direction, which is really not beneficial to us. So let's stay on course. Let's stay on course with God.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor Benjamin. And I hope that we have been inspired to set our priorities right, still have our goals, but always remember that God takes priority in our lives. So thank you so much again. And I hope that our audience has been blessed in this episode. And we're looking forward to our next episode, which is about learning how to say no. It's part of balancing our life. So I hope that this podcast is continuously blessing each one of you. And feel free to comment, suggest us topics. We would love to hear feedback. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, and see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.